We've traced our teddy bear down, and the first step is going to be to fill in the face and ears with medium white. I'm just using a small, flatter angle brush and giving this a nice even coat. We're going to shade the teddy bear's ears and around his sides of his face with raw sienna. I'm using some of the blending mix and a small 1/4-inch angle brush to float this color on the ears and then along the sides of the face. Reload your brush with some blending mix and a little more paint, and then we're going to side load some shadows down along the bottom of the face. In the break, I had forgotten to turn my camera on, and I went ahead and painted in the base coats on the bow. And for that, I just used some cerulean blue and white. The lighter fronts of the bow are the cerulean blue with a little white mixed in, and the shadows in the bow, like in the loops, top loops, are just straight cerulean blue. We're going to go ahead and shade with the raw sienna around the outer edge of the teddy bear's muzzle. You can freehand this in, or if you feel more uncomfortable doing that, you can trace in or pencil in a little guideline to do that. With a little more blending mix and some white on our brush blended together, we're going to highlight the inside of the muzzle along the outer edge. So you want your white highlight to touch against the edge where the raw sienna shadow was. And then we're going to also highlight the tops of the ears. If you don't get a strong enough highlight in one coat, just let it dry and go back and you can mix another one. Now we're going to work on adding some highlights to the bow, and we're also going to repeat the blue and the white mix. We just want a very light blue. Add a little highlight to the tops of the loops of the bow and the top of the knot. Again, we've got our blending mix in our brush, which helps that paint stay wet a little longer and gives us some blending time. Just continue to reload your brush as you need to. I always do a lot of brush mixing where I just pick up a little bit of paint on my brush, blend it, then pick up the second color and blend it in the same track, and that gives you a nice soft mix, and the variation is more interesting than always using the same exact mix throughout. I'm just going back over my highlights a little bit at the top. And then I'm going to do a soft highlight down the middle of the loop. So you can see I've got the paint edge of my brush towards the left, and then I flip it over and run that paint edge down the other side so that they softly blend together. I'm going to repeat that on the other loop. And again, the blending mix helps your paint stay wet, so you have a little more time to work this. Just vary the pressure on your brush. Soften those edges together. And then we're going to add just a little light edge to the very back top of this loop. So it's not such a stark dark blue color all the way through. This just adds a little dimension. We're going to go back and using a little bit of raw umber on the brush, again with the blending mix. I always like to use the blending mix when I'm side loading. I'm going to darken the shading on the chin of the teddy bear. You can also mix, if you don't have the raw umber, you can mix up some using your raw sienna and just a little bit of black. Just a tiny touch will give you kind of a burnt, or a raw umber color. So you can see on my palette I had a little bit of both on there. When you use the mix, you're using the same colors you've got throughout your design, so that kind of helps it all hang together if you don't want to switch to a totally different color. As always, keep adding more blending mix. That's what you're using in place of water. And we're just going to come across the bottom of the teddy bear's cheeks and chin and just darken that. And then let's do a little bit of a little U shape inside the ears to add just a little dimension to those ears. With our paint staying wet, so you can just continue to blend until it tacks up too much. Now, with the blue for the bow, it's real pretty to add some of our alizarin crimson as a shadow over top of this. Because it's a transparent color over the blue, it's going to give you a purple effect. And this makes just a very pretty shading color for the blue bow. So you can see I'm just very lightly walking in some of the alizarin crimson, and it's also a good color to shade behind the bow on our pink background. And you can see how adding that little bit of red to our blue bow just really does tie that into the pinks. If you mix some of the blue and red together right on your palette, you actually do get a purple. So we'll shade here on either side of the knot on the bow, just make that knot pop out a little bit more. And you can pull some little gather lines or shadows in your bow to give it a little more dimension. I'm back to the raw umber, and we're going to shade underneath the bow on the background. And our background color under the bow is, on this block, was the medium white. And you can see where the raw umber is a nice shading color for that beige background. And this just gives us a little bit more dimension to the bow, makes it pop out. We're going to paint the nose in. Again, we're going to repeat our pinks, so we're going to do a pink mix of white and alizarin crimson. And just with a small round brush, you can paint the nose in on the teddy bear. I forgot to turn the camera on again, so you need to blush your cheeks with pink, outline the teddy with black, and dot your eyes with black. I also scrubbed some white in on the bow for stronger highlights and added some dots of white to the eyes, cheeks, and nose.